Happy Saturday, everybody. Look who I
Thank
got
you.
back. I got Mr. Sam Rocco back for the third time.
No, crazy. Crazy.
And we have comedian, writer, screenwriter, jack of all trades, the man who created to me the greatest comic book film ever made, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990, Mr. Bobby Herbeck.
Thank you.
It
What a
is
nice
an
thing for me to
absolute
say.
honor and pleasure to have you on the show today.
My
Thank
honor,
you,
my
Sam.
fan. Let me tell you what. I'm also father, grandfather, and now a great-grandfather.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we don't know how that happened, but I never thought I'd live to be a grandfather, let alone a great-grandfather, which I'm going to get to see everybody at about 4 o'clock my time. So
That's
I'm
great.
pumped. I just got off a little bout with COVID, and I just not sure if my test was the first positive test was right on, but the one yesterday said I'm negative. I think I just got back from being up in the Redwoods, Northern California, where I go do some shows, and I think it's you always come home and decompress for 3 days. You sound like Wolfman Jack when you're talking. You're like this. Hey, wife, how you doing? And people hear me on the phone and go, dude, you okay? Yeah, I just got back from the Redwoods, because it's just a cloud of smoke from all of fires, fires, different camps, and dust. And I'm doing this because allergies. So I don't know how much it was I had COVID, but I got it this morning and found out my test was at CVS was negative. So
Well,
I'm
that's
glad
great.
you're doing better. I got that crap back in January, and
that's when I first got it.
yeah.
And then I went and got the monoclonal infusion. And supposedly you were impervious to any of this.
Yeah.
And how many people we know that are vaxxed and boosted 3-4 times and they're getting COVID? And you go, what's the answer to this?
Well, here's what my doctor told me. He goes, and I went and I was like, dude, I've got a migraine, and I suffer with migraines. I have since I was a kid, but this one was like nuclear. I couldn't see nothing.
Jeez.
And my doctor's like, oh, you got COVID, but thank God you were vaccinated, because it could have been so much worse. I was like, it could be worse than this. Like,
And
I'm
it could
literally
be.
wanting you to
It could
put
be.
me in a coma right now because my head is hurting so bad.
Yeah.
Well, you're here now, so it could have been worse.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's true.
Amen.
You know.
Okay, 2 points for Sam. Let's go
Got
to the
it.
tote board. Sam's 2, we're 0.
I'm winning.
Okay.
Now let's go. I'm ready to go.
Keep the tote board going. You drinking wine?
It's actually sparkling water from Mexico.
Yeah,
so.
sure. I got you sparkling water.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
tequila.
What do you got for us, buddy? Aloha, by the way.
Yeah. Aloha.
So what I
Shaka
want to know,
bra.
Bobby, let's start at the beginning. I want to know, how did you get started in show business?
How did I get started in show business? Wow. Well, I graduated from Arizona State. Then I came out to Hollywood because I knew that's what I wanted to do. Sorry. And then I had to get some water. And then I got a really good agent through a friend of mine that had a show called Shindig on at the time. And he hooked me with a great agent. And back then, the agent would take you around all the casting directors in Hollywood, and which they don't do anymore. Everything is submitted. Everything is even past my time. Everyone now, they go online and see your audition reel and stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, Sam knows all this stuff. But anyway, back in the day, agent would take you to meet the heads of the casting at the major studios and TV networks. And I went to Universal Studios, my first round, to meet the casting people and the head of casting. And I was sitting in the waiting area with one other guy, tall, handsome, great personality, really cool guy. And I got called in first. And I looked at him, I says, good luck, pal. I don't think it's him. You're not good looking. You're too short. And you're probably gay. And so I go into the hall, through the offices, all the secretaries going, who's the guy out there? I says, never mind. He doesn't like gals, if you get my drift. And so in that round, a casting guy asked my agent, who's this? He's my new client, Bobby Herbeck. He's going to go meet Hoyt Bowers, the head of casting. And when he comes back out, I'll bring him by. Well, I read for a part of a series called The Outsider with Darren McGavin, where he was a gumshoe detective. It was he was great. The show was great. I get the part. My first time out of the shoot.
Crazy.
My agent said, it doesn't happen like this. I said, well, it did today. And when I'm walking out, the guy that's waiting, I said to him, "You can go home." I said, "I got the gig, but good luck, pal." And I go in. That guy turned out to be Tom Selleck.
Jesus.
He was just starting out.
Get out of here.
He worked as a model, and he was just getting his acting chops
He's
going.
a cigarette model, right? Was
And
like Marlboro
I
Man or
waited
something?
all these years to I have missed him like this so many times, just to say, remind him of that day and go, "So how did things turn out for you, pal?" It was Tom Selleck.
That's so awesome.
But anyway, I just I got on a roll, and I just started getting a lot of parts. I did shows. You guys were born. I did. Oh God, when things are rotten. This is all 70s. So I did Chips, Mod Squad. I did Room 222. I did all these shows. I was the right age, and there was a lot of shows my age. And my first, I was offered a part in a movie called Tora Tora Tora.
Oh, Chris Sala directed part of that.
Being done at Fox. At the same time, same studio, I was in a play when Robert Altman and Burt Remsen, a character actor and also his casting guy, saw me and had me come in and read for the part of Radar. And I was offered the part of Radar in the movie MASH at the same time.
Oh my God.
My agent says, no one's going to go see that piece of crap.
No way.
Everyone's going to go see Tora Tora. It's the first movie with an intermission since Ben frickin' Hur. I said, but this is a better part. He says, listen to me, I'm your agent. And I'm new. You know, I'm new in town. So I ended up doing Tora Tora Tora. Gary Berghoff got, as you know, got the Radar part. And some years later, when I went to do my first part on the MASH series, my scene was in the operating room, and Gary got everybody gathered around, Alan Alda and everybody, and they got medical instruments in their hand. I'm standing by the operating table because my scene's on the operating table, and he proceeds to tell this story. He puts his arm. I just love Bobby. I want to thank him for the ranch in Malibu and the motor home and the kids' education.
Man.
Gary, that's enough. No, but there's so much more. I said, no. And with that, Alan Alda goes schmuck to me, and they all, like I'm a dartboard, start throwing the medical instruments at me. My knees are knocking anyway because I'm nervous. I'm just on the set. I dive under the operating table, being pelted by these things. And Gary, and I look at Gary and I said, "You a-hole, just forget about it." And when I came back to do another part, as soon as I walked to the stage, all it goes, "Oh, the little schmuck is back."
Oh man,
this was the beginning for me.
That's
and
crazy.
Not misstep, but you know what, dude? It wasn't meant to be. And I say to people, does anybody know where Gary is now? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm here.
You're still doing Comic-Cons and stuff.
I didn't get in the business too. I mean, I was a radio TV major at ASU.
So was I. That's crazy. I was the same major at ASU.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, that's my bachelor's degree is in technically screenwriting.
It was mass comm then. They didn't have. We were like part of the engineering building across from the law school. They were right across the street from where the law school is. But then I went to UCLA and I took some film cinematography classes there, and I took some summer ones in at SC because SC had the really good professors and ones that had been in the business. I took Jerry Lewis's directing class, which is actually very good, and George Lucas was going there at that time. And when I was at UCLA, Francis Ford Coppola brought in his thesis, which was a major motion picture. I don't think it was Finian's Rainbow, but it was the first picture he did. He brings all the canisters of films in and sets them on the head of the department's desk.
Was it the Corman movie he did with Roger Corman?
It could have been. It was his first film, so maybe it was. I
forget what that's called. It's pretty bad, but
but he said, "Here's my thesis," because I worked with him on Finian's Rainbow, not too. Whatever that picture was, he got a deal on he got a deal at Warner's to shoot this Finian's Rainbow movie.
That's the weirdest movie
a musical, ever. Which was a break for him. Anyway, that's it. And then I just was building my acting career. I'd always done stand-up. And then in 72, the Comedy Store opened. And all of a sudden, it's like moths around a light bulb. We found a place to gather. And we were doing 2 and 3 shows a night because there weren't enough comics back then. And then Red Fox started coming in, and Richard Pryor. and Robert Klein, these guys, and then they go on the Tonight Show, and Mike Douglas and Merv Griffin and Dinah Shore, and they talk up the Comedy Store. So the Midwest people would go, hey, when we go out to Disneyland this summer, we got to go to the Comedy Store and see Red Fox. And that started building our audience. And there's a core group. We were the pledge class, and little Michael Binder, who was a teenager and a young comic then, he became a successful producer. He had a Showtime series on last season about the real Comedy Store, the history. It was totally bogus. He left all of us out. You can't do that and not have us in there. And he knew better. And his people must have called me a dozen times. We're going to interview you. And we're all calling each other. Did you hear from him? I didn't hear from him. And bogus. So we're talking about doing our own, because the very beginning was really pretty fascinating, because in that mix in the beginning was a very funny comedy team that consists of Rudy DeLuca, and Barry Levinson, the famous director, and Craig T. Nelson. They were
That's crazy.
They had a very funny, trippy, off the wall sense of comedy. And they were on everybody was getting on summer shows. We did summer shows, where they brought people with producers and stuff would be there, and they say, hey, why don't you be in our summer show? But those guys were on Sonny and Cher's, I do believe, and a couple of others. And then I remember Chevy Chase being a writer. I think I worked with him on Jim Stafford's summer show. I Don't Like Spiders and Snakes. Remember that song, or ever hear that song? No, you don't remember it. Anyway, he was a country singer, and he had a summer show, Funny Cat. But the Comedy Store was just this wonderful place for us all to be together. And you never saw so much paranoia in your life. If we went and we'd have breakfast at 2 a.m. across the street, and if somebody at the table said something funny, they go, that's mine. Remember, that's my joke. I said that. Well, don't be using that. But this was back when even before that, while I was going to ASU, I worked at Disneyland on the Jungle Cruise. And that's when Steve Martin was in the saloon playing the banjo and doing balloon tricks and stuff.
I did not know
This was all this wonderful beginning, and the Troubadour was becoming a melting pot, which to me was one of the great rooms. The Ice House to me is my favorite room.
I live right by there.
I love the Ice. I love working that room. I like the audience right at your toes. That is a great room. And the Comedy Store, the little Comedy Store was the little room. The big room was a place called Ciro's then, and then it became Art LeBeau's dance club. Art LeBeau was famous for selling 50s and 60s records and stuff. So anyway, I could bore you to death, but all roads led to me doing stand-up and some acting. And then I was on the road with Feliciano, and I came home for a 2-week break. I was opening for Jose. I came home for a 2-week break, and I got a call from my agent that said, they're looking for a warm-up guy over at KTTV for this show, Different Strokes. I said, what the hell's a warm-up guy? He said, just go over there. So I go over, and I became the audience warm-up king in Hollywood. It wasn't even a defined gig within the union. The union came to me after about 2 years in and said, Bobby, we have no category for this, how you should be getting paid. And to me, it was just an opportunity to be in the business with the producers, doing sitcoms, learning about it. And they started giving me acting jobs. And then about 2 years in, I was working, this is normal, I was working Different Strokes, Jefferson, Silver Spoons, Give Me a Break, all these great shows. I even worked Solid Gold, which was a great rock and roll music show.
Oh, you got to see the legendary Solid Gold dancers.
I got to see hardest job I had, because I would come out, get the audience warmed up. They do a song, maybe two. Then I'm out there for an hour while they reset the lights and everything to do the next song. And I would, by come Friday, I had no voice because I was doing these other shows. Wow. But when I was doing Different Strokes, really started Different Strokes, the creator Howard Leeds and the producers gave me a script one day, and because we used to shoot a show, load the audience, shoot a show, send them home, have a dinner break, in this case, a lunch break because of the kids. We didn't shoot at night with the kids. And then they punch up the script, do a second show with the second audience, and then edit the two together. The best, the better of the two. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, and we'd be around the table when we're eating, and I'd maybe throw in a joke or an idea. Pretty soon when the script, I was leaving one day and the producer came and Howard came and said, here, take this script home and punch it up. In other words, make it funnier. And I did my first script and I had it back the same day. And they said, it's back already. And I said, is it too soon? They said, no, good. They read it. An hour later, they called me and they said, this is great. We're going to give you some more. And they started bringing me along as a writer. I didn't get in the business to write except for my material. And I said, I'm not going to be in a room by myself writing. But the rest is history. Just how when I speak to kids and stuff, I tell them to network and, don't think the hand you're holding is the one you're going to win with, draw some more cards because you're going to meet people and you're just going to find these paths. You're going to go down these paths that you're just going to be led. If you just keep going forward, you're going to be led to maybe a success of some sort. And for me, it turned out to be everything else I've done. It to me is a success. I was doing a lot of commercials and voiceovers. I'm still doing that. Voiceovers, not commercials on camera, because I would rather take a beating. I hated those. Roll on the floor and act like you're a snail. Okay, fine. Stupid stuff, right? And so Sam knows his stuff.
Sure, that's
okay. Act like your wallpaper and you're coming alive. And it was just like, and you would drive through all this traffic for 3 minutes and then go drive back home and go. And I always lived at the beginning. I lived in Hollywood, but then I moved out to Malibu. Then I moved to Long Beach.
Oh man.
And I go, I'm not driving up there to do
what 5 a drive
minutes.
From Long Beach. Yeah.
I said, this is crazy. So anyway, they nurtured me to write. Glenn Padnick, one of the founders of Glenn Padnick, Alan Horn, and oh God, I'm blank on him now. The director the guy from Rob Reiner started a production company. No, I think Joe Roth was in that too. They started Castle Rock Productions. Oh, wow. They did a lot of great movies. They did the great movie where the guys, what was it, where Billy Crystal and them go out to play cowboy for a weekend.
Oh, City Slickers?
Yep, City Slickers.
Yeah, such a good movie.
That's
and
really
Babalu and them, Mandel, these places, everybody like I said, for me, in the right place at the right time. So, I mean, the comedy was changing, and which Blazing Saddle changed it. And I also got to know Mel Brooks because of Ninja Turtles, because Mel thought Ninja Turtles was sheer genius, and he was curious how it came about. And I was working on a project at Fox with Cheech Marin. And I had gone in the commissary, and the movie was in the theaters at the time. And I walked in the commissary with my Ninja Turtle jacket on. A Rudy DeLuca, who I mentioned earlier, who was part of this comedy team with Barry and Craig. Well, Barry and Rudy branched off and they did the summer shows, and they went to write for Carol Burnett. And from Carol Burnett, they hooked up with Mel Brooks and wrote 3 or 4 of his movies with him. Okay. So I come in the commissary and Rudy sees me and Bobby, how you doing? Good. And I walk away and Mel sees my jacket and he says, hey, what's with the jacket with that guy? And he says, well, that's Bobby Herbeck. He wrote the Ninja Turtle movie. He says, get the hell out of here. I got to meet this kid. I love this turtle thing. Title. He calls it title. I love the title.
Yeah.
Go over there, have him bring his lunch and have lunch with me. Now, Rudy comes over and says, Uncle Melvin would like you to come and have lunch with him. I says, Mel Brooks. He says, is there another Uncle Melvin? I said, okay, Rudy, just let me get my breath for a minute. I was like beside myself. The whole time you're trying to be really cool, right? Yeah. You don't even want to pick your drink up because your hand's shaking. You're just kind of leaning over on the straw, right? But anyway, we became buds, and he was ever fascinated by this whole Ninja Turtle thing. And so we went to his office after lunch, and this was like a 4-hour afternoon with Mel Brooks. And I could go on and on for another show, but it just a wonderful friendship. Whenever I was in Hollywood, I live in Arizona now. When I was in Hollywood, if I'd run into Uncle Melvin, we'd always exchange ideas. And I was at Musso and Frank's in Hollywood for lunch one day, and there was a bunch of people. There's a big room off to the side. Mel had gotten his star on Hollywood Boulevard, which I couldn't believe after years later. He should have had it long before. And I said to the famous maitre d', I said, so what's going on? He said, Mr. Brooks got a star. I said, well, I got to go in and say hi. And I walk in, and as Mel would do, he says, everybody, this is Hybie, the Ninja Turtle Poison. Everybody, give him a hand. This is the Poison Ninja Turtles right here. So then he says, what do you got for me? Oh, no, he says to me, we'd always take my wrist and go, hey, I got a new one for you, a new idea. I said, what do you got? He says, I think it's time now for Teenage Mutant Ninja Grandfather Turtles, he said. And I said, you might be onto something. He said, what do you got for me? And I said, man, I think you should do History of the World on Broadway. He goes, you think? He was prepping Blazing Saddles. You think? I said, you got the music. He said, you might be onto something. But we would always have this exchange of ideas. So anyway.
That's amazing.
I had actually met him before that. He didn't put it together. But when I was at the Comedy Store, I was part of a thing called the Comedy Store Players that evolved in time to what is today the Groundlings, which is a very famous group. And that came out of the Comedy Store. And we were rehearsing in the basement. We worked there for free, as you all may know back then. And we were rehearsing in the basement. And Mitzi comes down and goes, and the basin's full of mops and paint and buckets, and it's a mess. And she's, I'm going to have to charge you guys for using this to rehearse. And we're going, are you crazy? We're working for you for nothing. So we left. We told her to shove it. We went and found a theater.
Mitzi Shore, you're talking about?
We put a show together and opened it. There was no show think Saturday Night Live. We put a show like that together. It was the only show in Hollywood at the time like that. And we were a huge hit, to the point of being offered to do a pilot called Saturday Night Live, and everybody turned it down except for Lorraine Newman. Another one of those stories. Nah, we don't want to do that show.
That's insanity.
Huh?
That's crazy.
Yeah, but you don't know, right?
You never know what's going to hit.
We all got together the night it first aired, and we were at Johnny Dark, who became a comedian. First was a singer at the Comedy Store. We were at his apartment. We watched it the first time it aired. And when it was over, you could hear a pin drop. And I said, we screwed up. Well, I didn't say screwed up. I dropped it out. We effed up. And, just looking at what had transpired. Because Lorne Michaels was in L.A. That came out of L.A. That wasn't born out of New York. And the story was that the network came to him and said, here's an idea, put it together. And we were a self-contained group. We were improv and sketch. So Lorraine was just new to our group, and he goes to Second City. The rest is history. That's where he found,
Aykroyd in him.
They found a self-contained group. He didn't have to pull cast and pull. He wanted a group that could work together and had been working together. So it's just another radar story, I swear to God. But hey, at the finish line, I did okay.
For sure.
Did you ever run into Mark Scheffler while you were at the Comedy Store?
Who is it?
Mark Scheffler.
Name is vaguely familiar to me. Now, remember, I was there in the 70s.
Yeah, I think he might have went there because he started out in the Catskills up in New York, and then he moved out to L.A. and worked at the Comedy Store. But he played in Last House on the Left. The God, I forget who it was. Did that movie, and everybody's gonna murder me for it, but whatever. No, but
this is the fun in our life today. You remember the guy with the beard that had the missing tooth? That guy from The Thing, that thing. And then I was working on a project with Bo Bridges, and he was laughing at me at the table working, and I said, the guy in the Western, the movie that drove the stagecoach, and had the beard when then kind of a limp, and then he says, like Gabby Hayes, I'm like, yeah. And he's making fun of me. 5 minutes later, he says, the guy that was in the movie that was really buffed, and he had a crooked nose. I said, so you're doing it now. So we all do it. But usually I'll wake up at 3 a.m. and go, Tom Selleck, out of my dead sleep.
Yeah, like right now, I'm like Wes Craven. Wes Craven was the one that did that movie that had Mark Scheffler. Wes Craven?
Oh, yeah.
Last House on the Left?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his first movie before he did Hills Have Eyes.
When I lived in Malibu, I'm going to tell you, my neighbors in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, John Carpenter, he was with Adrienne Barbeau then, who we just loved to watch her out on the beach because Adrienne was well endowed. And we get a call, Adrienne's on the beach. Okay, I'm coming out. But Brooks, God, I'm so blank now. Jim Brooks was my neighbor, and he had called me in to do because I do shtick. We'd all have parties at the beach, and I get my guitar and play parody songs and do voices. And do crazy. Hell, most everybody was stoned anyway, so it wasn't hard to make them laugh, right?
Sure.
And he had me come in and read for that Taxi show, the pilot. And I come in and I read. And then he comes that night, he gets home and he comes and knocks on my door and I says, how'd I do? And he says, what the hell was this? What was this Jersey guy you were doing? You know, you're a blonde, tan beach boy. You're not.
Oh, man. Yeah. Are you talking about James Brooks? You're talking about?
Yeah, James L.
Oh,
Brooks.
wow.
So
That's
I say
crazy.
to Jim, I said, well, that's what the script said. Screw the script. I wanted you to play you. I'm doing Danny. What's his name? Did the role? Ended up doing the role. The Italian
DeVito.
kid.
Danny DeVito.
DeVito.
The good-looking kid. The other kid. It turned out to be a boxer too. Anyway, he got the role because he was the person. But Jim didn't give me the note. Just play yourself. Don't play this guy with another guy who's like Pesci, the thing with you guys don't even know these guys. And that's what I'm doing. And it's like one of the Beach Boys trying to play, you know, a Scorsese role in a Scorsese film. It ain't going to work.
Yeah.
But all these guys, yes, Sam, these guys were just starting out. James L. Brooks was
that's crazy.
He
came to my school when I was at USC for grad school. He would come. He was friends with one of my teachers, and he did a little directing kind of seminar, which was very cool to watch.
Super guy, really super guy.
Awesome.
It's fun to get this age and see how well so many did. I mean, look at Barry Levinson, for crying out loud. And
Insane.
Barry's first break was he wrote and Injustice for All. Norman Jewison, I think. And he got Craig in to read for the part of the lawyer, and Craig got it. And Craig Nelson never stopped working after that movie. And it was Barry's first, tour de force, that film. As a writer, he didn't direct it. His first movie directed was Diner, which was one of the great movies.
Yes. Yeah.
Say, Sam, I should have went to film school, man. I went to art school. We never got cool guests. I didn't start meeting cool guests until I started drawing at Comic-Cons and stuff.
There's a lot of people who were directors and did well who started out as artists. So.
Oh, for sure. And USC is like, they'll bring in everybody. Like not every film school is going to have those kind of guests, but we're right in the middle of Hollywood.
In my time, UCLA had the best facility. And UCLA, I mean, SC was in a barn, famous barn back then. And then as time, then it rolls reverse. I mean, UCLA still has a decent facility, but Lucas and Spielberg, and as Sam knows, all these guys throw their money in there and they built the state of the art.
Yeah.
ASU has a state of the art facility.
That's great. Yeah, my first day at USC, the first thing I noticed was there's two big buildings across from each other, the Lucas building and the Spielberg building. I'm like, this is awesome.
Spielberg went to Long Beach State.
Yeah, he didn't get into USC. He got rejected like multiple times.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Lucas took a lot of that Disney dollars that he made when he sold Star Wars and built that building, didn't he?
Well, let me tell you, if I may, I tell this story. Sam will hear this on the panel probably. But another misstep by a studio, and you may know, Sam probably knows this story, but when Fox thought that movie, just like people said Ninja Turtles was a piece of crap, no one's going to go see it. The powers that be of Fox says, no one's going to go see this movie, Star Wars. Well, I mean, I'm talking, it's in the can, it's done. They're going, no one's going to see this. They're not going to forget about it. They gave him all the licensing. That's why I tell people he became a billionaire not because of box office, because he got all the licensing,
toys and stuff. Right.
So I say somewhere on that lot is a monolith that says we do not let licensing go. Because I had I've had 2 projects there, and they were very adamant about you will get maybe a little piece of the licensing on this. Because right when Ninja Turtles was in the theaters, I sold a project right away to Joe Roth and Roger Birnbaum. Extreme Sports Frogs project, which I still would like to get made. It came from a T-shirt. You ever see those shirts with the frogs with the sunglasses?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was called Life Forms. It was a company out of northern Santa Rosa.
Oh my
God! I
God,
went up there and made a deal.
One.
I gave them $10,000 and bought the rights to the characters, and then I built the characters and a script. I took it into Fox, and they bought it maybe 3 hours later.
That's crazy.
Said, we want to do this because I was on the heels of, and this is before Extreme Sports. I had laid out to them. I pushed the ancillary on. I have laid out to them. We'll do these. We'll create these beach sports extremes. I didn't call extreme sport. We'll create these beats in the script. It's these sports things. I'm double tracking myself. It was surfing. It was volleyball. It was biking. It was what did I have? Rollerblades. Okay. And this was all events at the beach, held at the beach. And it's what later became Extreme Sports. And I would see Roger Birnbaum later, and he said, boy, did we drop the ball on that one. I said, the Extreme Sports alone was worth a fortune. If we'd have just put that in place, stamped a license on it, we're the fathers of Extreme Sports. Because
that's crazy.
Each frog, one was a Rasta frog. Okay. One was a chick. They had $1 million body, and I asked the artist, where'd you get that? He said, that's my wife's body. And I said, I got to come and meet your wife. He was the rollerblader. Okay. look at Sam. And then we had Spike was a little short runt like me. And he was the volleyball frog. And I'll send you guys pictures. I still have the artwork.
That would be amazing.
And then I had him create Ichiban, who was I wanted the sumo toad character, this sumo frog in, and he's called Ichiban. And whenever you know what's going to hit the fan, he'd scratch his ass, and the fight's on. He's ready to fight because he said very little. He just, but when he scratched his butt, the fight was on.
It was go time.
I'll send those to you, Sam, because
that'll be great to see. Yeah,
I still think it could be done. No one has done an Extreme Sports background movie. I mean, they've done them but not as a kids movie like the Turtles.
Sure, yeah.
No one's done that arena, and I still think it's very viable. I might even take it to Sanford. I took it to Sanford Panage at Fox, and he went, yeah, I don't know, but you got to get someone in the studio that gets it, and I think it'll work. I'll send it to you, Sam.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Well, that's my question that leads you, you go into Turtles. What in the world made you want to write a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie? Because comic book movies were dead in the water at this point in time before Tim Burton's Batman. From what I researched, you had started working on this way before Tim Burton even had a brain fart of any sort about doing Batman.
Okay, he said fart, so mark that down. Because I'm trying to clean up the language here.
You can say I don't care.
No, I want people to think kindly of me, the parents. So anyway,
a lot of parents watching.
Yeah, but after we're not rolling, and we'll get down to the table talk. So anyway, I'm going to be really honest. I'd like to say, well, because I'm a genius and I knew, and I didn't know jack squats diddly do from comic book, schmomic book, or anything. What I knew was I was writing a movie for Golden Harvest, and the company that does the Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan movies.
Yep.
And my buddy Kim Dawson, who was the director and producer of Gallagher's Showtime specials, and his manager, Gary Proper. Gary and Gallagher were comic book freaks. And whenever they were in Detroit, they go to a comic book store and they found the first graphic comic book, Ninja Turtle comic book. And they got Kim and they said, we got to find these guys, see if we can get a deal to run with this and try to make it into a movie, which they did. It's a cocktail napkin agreement, basically. And Kim knew I was writing for Golden Harvest, this movie, and he called me. And he lived in Newport, and I was in Long Beach. He said, "Herbs, I got something I got to show you. Meet me at the In-N-Out Burger." And we met this In-N-Out Burger in Westminster. I said, there should be a plaque there to this day. It sat on the grassy knoll because it wasn't one where you could go inside. It was just a drive-through. And we sat on the grassy knoll, and he's showing me the graphic comic books, and he gives me a couple of VHS shows because it's now on TV as a series. It'd only been on a few months. And I look at it, I take it home, I pop it in, I look at it, and I go, well, this is kind of cool. This is different. Just it hit my sensibilities as this is different. You know, it just something told me, instinct said, uh-oh, bingo, this got a little bingo here. And because Kim said, you got the perfect company to do this movie. You got the best martial arts guys. You put them in costumes, you dub the voices, and you make your movie. And went to Tom, my boss, on several occasions, threatened to be fired if I didn't quit coming to him about the Pinjin Ninja Turtles. That's what he called them. And it kept throwing me out. And I went around Hollywood for 3 months pitching it and literally laughed out of some pitch meetings. Some well-known people in the business I pitched it to called my agent and said, "Who's the stoner that came in here with this turtle thing?" And my agent said, "I don't know about the pop, but the turtle thing's real. It's on TV." And the thing was, and Sam might have heard me, I say this when we do our panels. Back then, there was no iPads, none of these. There was a TV. That's the kids' entertainment was a television. I mean, Pong was just on the horizon, just happening, right?
Not to cut you off, but the way I heard about the movie was through these magazines that we used to get at the comic book store, like a Fangora Starlog type magazine. And I was flipping through it, and there was some like rough shots that you all were doing on set. And I was like, is that live action Ninja Turtle movie? And I was like, and the rest was here.
See, you're of that comic book world. See, so that's to me is even today, I know it's big, but even as an underground thing, you know, it's just a certain niche. And back then, even a deeper, darker niche as far as that world. I mean, I was a kid. I had comic books. I saved comic books. We all had Superman and Batman and stuff like that. And then the Harvey cartoon books and stuff, you know, the funny ones, Dick Tracy and that stuff. But then when you get a little older, what happened is you guys, even as guys that are adults with children, are comic book freaks. Okay. Me, my time. My day, I was in the comic books when I got older, you know, but the fact that TV came along and TV, it became a show, and the parents didn't know about it. It was the kid's secret. I truly believe that it was their secret. They knew about the turtles. The mom and dads didn't know jack squat until the stuff started coming out on the shelves. And the kids wanted the costume for Halloween or a birthday. Wanted a ninja. Mom and dad are going, what the hell's a Ninja Turtle costume? Tom Gray, the guy that ran Golden Harvest, didn't know what the hell I was talking about until we were having a drink one night after work. And I said, I will not bring it. It dawned on me at a 10-year-old and 12-year-old at home. And I said, Tom, I promise I'll never bring it up. Just when you get home, ask your kids about the turtles. And that was in Beverly Hills. By the time I got to Long Beach and walked in my apartment, I had a message from him. Get your buddy in Herb's Babes. That's Herb's nickname, Babes. You know, another Herb's Babes. Get your buddy and meet me for breakfast in Westwood in the morning. Let's talk about this. Because his kid said, Dad, it's like, what's happening? So they kind of gave him a little background on it. And the rest is history. But for those two kids, me thinking of those two kids, somebody else, I mean, we'd have probably gotten made God knows where, because I had a hell of a time getting anybody's attention. They just didn't get it. If I went to a 12-year-old kid or a 10-year-old kid and he was running the studio, he'd have made it right away, right?
Totally. I would have made it as a
and I was one of those kids.
Yeah,
I was 13 at the time, you know.
So the week before it opened, I'm with Tom in the car at Wilshire, Santa Monica. We're pull up to a light. We're going to lunch. And he's driving, and he said, he was getting ready to go to New York for the opening. He said, Herbs, we'd already had the premiere at Universal. He said, Herbs, I hope that we don't have Howard the Duck on our hands. And I said, Howard the Duck fell out of the sky like a comet. Not even a comet, like a thud. And I said, you have a built-in audience, Tom. And he said, well, what do you think it's going to do the first week? And I said, we'll do 20 million. I had no doubt. He said, we do 20 million. I'll give you anything you want. And this little two-seater Mercedes pulled up next to us. I said, I want one of those in black. And I was getting ready to get married. So I said, when I'm on my honeymoon, have that car delivered. And I never got the car. I always tell that when I tell the story. Never did get that car. But the movie opened at 24 or 25 million, I think. Because we were on the Today Show, and I'm with Bob Shea, and my buddy was on the Today Show at that time, and he was interviewing me from New York, and I'm in LA. And Bobby says, so good weekend, opening weekend. And I had the variety, and I spread the centerfold and had the box office for that weekend, 24 million or something or other. I got it here in a chest somewhere. And
it's crazy.
And I'm just beaming, because I'm going. And by the way, Tom, you owe me a new car. I said that on TV on the Today Show. And I said, my boss owes me a new car, a new Mercedes. And anyway,
that was
to answer. I'm sorry, John. Your answer your question is no. I knew nothing other than what Kim brought me, and I looked at it. I said, "This is really cool. This is so out there and different that you got to go." Then I started watching the cartoon shows. And then the rest is history, man. We were just at the right place. It's timing. Everything is right place, right time. There was a big discussion. Should it be a Christmas release? Should it be a summer release? And I had said at one of the meetings, why not open it during spring break? No one ever opens a movie when these kids are walking around doing nothing, and they open it during spring break, which was very smart. And
that makes sense.
Go ahead, Sam.
That's interesting. I never thought about that. Like typically spring wasn't a great time to open a movie.
But you have to remember now, the kids didn't have this and Xbox, PlayStation. I got grandkids, man. Their whole life they're wrapped in this Oculus thing now.
Sure,
they're wrapped up into the PlayStation hours, and it to the point of I worry about them being robots at some point, because I saw that thing on Netflix about the social media. It's kind of scary what's being done to us, even though we're not aware of it. It's not kind of scary. It's very scary.
It is.
I've had the pleasure of talking to Kevin Eastman a few times at the conventions when I've worked there drawing and stuff. And I would go over and ask him to critique my work and stuff like that every once in a while. And awesome. Just down to earth person.
Yeah.
He said that at that point in time that, it was a happy accident. Him and Peter were just sitting around doodling, creating stupid drawings, and they created Michelangelo, and the rest is history. But they said it just felt like it got to a point where they could do no wrong. It was like everything they did, it was printing money, hand over fist. And he said, and then ego started to get involved, and then ultimately there was a split between him and Peter later on. Now they've reconciled because one wanted to go in one direction with it and the other one wanted to stay to what it was. But
but you know what, I give Kevin credit because Peter's of the two, Peter's very reserved. Peter, from what I gather, is in Maine, and Peter's always withdrawn and in a cave. Kevin is out there out front. I mean, my God, when you see his setup, he's got the Comic-Cons. He has these things wired, man. He's made
Team Eastman, and he's got a whole crew with him.
He makes a hell of a lot of money, and I understand that Peter bought him out only later, again, timing, and then Peter gets bought out, gets the offer from Viacom and gets a really big hit. But I don't think Kevin was, Kevin's without money, but Peter won on the money side on the other end. But everybody loves Kevin, and Kevin puts himself out there and does his thing, and they're both talented, man. It was I say this all the time, but none of us have got jack squat, but for those two guys, we got none of this. It's 32 years later, guys. We still get royalties on this. I mean, this is unheard of unless we're George Lucas, Star Wars. We're still getting a couple of nice checks a year. You know, and Netflix just bought the first 4 pictures. That just puts more money in the kitty. You know, streaming the first 4 pictures, and then everything. It has been a blessing, man. I love the fan base. I can go anywhere. My wife would tell you, people come in my home, they'll see this poster behind me here, and like a DirecTV guy or an exterminator or a painter comes in my house and goes, dude, where'd you get that? And my wife says, my husband wrote the movie to go, get the F out, dude, get out of here. Can we do a selfie? And I mean, the reaction on a daily basis, I blush a lot, but you know, it never stops. And it's gone from people, Justin Turner, third baseman for the Dodgers, classic example, huge Turtle fan. All these ball players, these ball players. 2 of my friends are the Dodger manager and the Rockies manager. I'd be down the field and they find out that I wrote the Ninja Turtle movie. All of a sudden, I got 8 of them surrounding me going, dude. And when they say, dude, I know they know. Did you really write the first Turtle movie? I did. That is so fucking cool, man. God. And
That's
JT
awesome.
came up and comes up to me. I'm in their Dodger dugout about 5 or 6 years ago. He comes and says, dude, can I shake your hand? I said, sure. And I knew. And he says, dude, that is so cool. You wrote the
That's nuts.
He goes, I still have my Ninja Turtle pajamas. He said, I'm never going to throw them away. I said, they don't fit, right? He said, oh. Anyway, so listen to this. I go to a Dodger game, which they'll come here and play the Diamondbacks. I was there maybe a month ago with Annie Drysdale. Doc had us seats right behind the dugout. Before the game, we're standing there, and I stand up, and I'm talking to someone behind me, and Doc yells, Bobby. And I turn, and it's JT, and JT's going like this. He goes, Cowabunga, dude. And I go, okay. And I have also been sitting with Tommy Lasorda, and he used to sit right there where the on-deck circle is for the Dodgers. And here's where they come out of the steps on the dugout. And JT goes at bat. He strikes out. He comes down the steps. He goes, Cowabunga, dude. And I said, really? Here? He said, everywhere, dude. Everywhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, these ball players, these guys, people that grew up, and then they tell you, my kids are into it. And it has just evolved. And they all love the first movie the best.
It's the best. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, the first, I mean, we've talked about it. I just don't believe what Michael Bay did to the look. And I think I know. I had this conversation with Kevin Eastman, and Kevin is certainly agrees with me on that, and had a conversation with him about it. But I won't say exactly. I won't say anything more than Kevin said, why'd you do that? And Michael Bay says, because I can. I'm Michael Bay. And then Kevin had something to say to him and left.
Man, that we gotta, you know, my goal as a director is to bring the look of the first movie back somehow in a new.
And I don't know what Seth Rogen's got cooked up, but
I don't know. It's an animated movie, which is cool, and I believe that he's gonna do something really cool with it. He always does great stuff.
Yeah, no, he will. People want to see. Well, you know, you're in our group these days, Sam. People want to see you'll hear him at Comic-Con. When we did the Comic-Con in November, they were all, please do a reboot of the first movie.
Yeah, a reboot, and you could have a whole like Marvel style universe with all these characters. Like I know I did the Casey Jones thing. You could do like a Shredder origin story. You could do all kinds of stuff, and like the big Turtle movies could be like the Avenger movies. You know, there's just so much potential.
I just told some buddies yesterday. I said, you know, it'd be really cool. I mean, it's really out there, but it's just me because I'm in an age where I don't care.
Sure, that's good.
What's going to happen to me? I said, you got to have them sitting around passing a bone, passing a dude, and getting stoned. You know, I think it'd be so cool. Stone turtles. You know,
you might see it in Seth Rogen's movie. Who knows? Huh? You know, there's a chance Seth Rogen might do that. Like he's a fan
I think it'd be very cool. It's today. Why not?
It's legal now. You know, whatever.
Yeah. Shaka bra, baby. I do the Turtles in Hawaii.
You gotta come up here and take me to a Dodger game. That's all I was thinking when you were telling
I'll be there. I'm coming in July 21st.
Cool.
I got a meeting, and then I'm going to see a game, and then I'm going to go to Comic-Con. I'm going to stay at the California Club, and then take the train down to San Diego the next morning, the 22nd. I don't know when you're going to go down. You're probably going to go down a few days before.
I've got to work on the 20th, and then I have off the 1st and the 2nd. But I'm probably going to commute back and forth, maybe do the train or something.
Well, I love taking the train down there. It's just easier anyway with parking and all that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But I'm going to go. Actually, when I went in November, there was only 10 or 15,000 people at the November special Comic-Con. This one's going to have 200,000. And that's the one I first went to, was 150 plus.
Oh yeah. Oh, do you want to talk about the panel? Are you allowed to? Because when we first were talking about it, we weren't,
you know what?
The air. Do you want to
Adam
announce it?
doesn't want us to. I guess we can talk about the panel. Yeah, Adam just doesn't want me to give the time and date and all this others, which I've already done, I guess. But he wants everything back until 2 weeks before.
Sure, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
But the panel, yeah, you can talk about the panel.
Yeah. So you mentioned it before we were like on the air, I guess, for the podcast. So like the people watching didn't hear it. So maybe you want to kind of reiterate.
Well,
what
it's
the panel
going to be
is.
Tim Dawson, who brought me the project, and one of the producers, original producer, but one of the people who found it. Mm-hmm. And then it's me, who actually, and we can talk about that sometime. There was a very big discussion and fight and rage on my part, because I should have been a producer on the picture. I'm the one that brought it to Golden Harvest. Golden Harvest, my boss had me pack a suitcase and go back to Massachusetts with him and said, we've got to sell these two guys we're the company to make the movie, which was really me selling, Tom just handing the ball to me. And we get back, and this is my first picture that was going to be made. I'd been writing sitcom TV. And in the middle of the process, I even got into Kim's face one day. I was so mad. I says, you got to get behind me on this. I should have a producer credit on this. But for me, this company's not doing this movie. I brought him the project. That's what a producer does. And I never got that. That cost me a lot over the years, a lot of freaking money.
That sucks.
A lot. I mean, I'm not going to claim it. Yeah, I got my writer's money, but my producer money was 10%. My writers was 5%. So that's 15% of a hell of a lot of booty over the past 30-something years.
Sure.
Can't do anything about it. I've had my sleepless and moaning, groaning nights about it, but that's just welcome to the business. When I talk to kids about it, I just say, you got to have some tough skin, because you will not always get what you deserve. So, but
yeah, you just answered a question I had, because when I was researching prior to this, it was like, well, damn, he did pretty much everything to get this movie greenlit, and all he got was a stinking writer's credit. How did that even work?
Not only that, I didn't get any sequel rights, which I should have had. That's also part of the thing. And they didn't want to pay more money. The David Chow, who was running, Raymond Chow, who ran Golden Harvest, was very tight, and he fired his number one producer guy. And well, Tom Gray stayed in the mix for a while, but he didn't bring certain people back. I don't know why he didn't bring Judith Hoag back. That might have been a case also, wanting more money, and they said, screw it, we'll get another girl to play this role. So, but that's now Kim and them had a 3-picture. They were smart. Their lawyer got them a 3-picture deal. So they get residuals on all through the first 3 pictures, because that was their deal that their lawyer made. They wouldn't make that deal with me. They had me. It was my first picture. This is like me opening for Zach Brown at the Hollywood Bowl a couple of years ago, and Zach Brown stiffed me after I opened for him for 2 nights at the Hollywood Bowl, because he said, well, because I know him. I work with him in the summer up in the Redwoods, where we do shows for free in this men's club. And Zach asked me if I wanted to open with the Hollywood Bowl. I said, sure. And I opened the Hollywood, standing on the Hollywood Bowl stage. Got to be kidding me. I'm working on Hollywood Bowl. I get 2 nights. I turn around and go to his manager. So, Zach, what am I getting paid? He said, well, I thought this was a buddy gig. And I said, a buddy gig? This is show business, dude. Buddy gigs are where we're up in the retreat, where none of us are getting paid. So my point is, people will stiff you, man.
Jeez.
So you got to make sure you got a damn good lawyer and get whatever you can and everything in writing. Okay, so
definitely.
Yeah, I've had a really good mentor. He's an indie film director, but when I started, like I said, I went to art school, didn't work out for me. I wanted to be a comic book writer and a comic book artist. Didn't work out for me. Somehow I
Still
found my niche.
could.
Well, I found my niche with this podcast and stuff. So, I decided, well, I'm going to make a LLC with this. I'm going to make a production company. And I did all that. And Steve Merlot, give him a shout out. He's like, make sure you cover your ass on everything.
Yeah. And it's named after a good wine too, Merlot. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's
but
good.
he was
Good
like, make
mentor.
sure you cover your butt on everything, no matter what. I said, yeah, but I'm just a podcast producer. He said, doesn't matter. Does not matter one bit.
No. You know what? and Sam gets it. And because of what I do, and I've probably gotten this even when I was writing TV, get more people come. Everybody's got a script. Everybody's got an idea. I got a script for you. I got an idea. And I always tell them, I don't want to hear about it. You register that script, and then I'll look at it. And I tell people the easiest way to do that is you take a script, you put it in an envelope, and you mail it to a family member or a friend and have them put it away, because that post date on it is a poor man's copyright. Okay? When the fight is on legally, then when you take that into court and they open that up for the first time, then there you go. But I can't tell you how many people ask me, well, you can imagine, dude, got a script. Everybody, the hairdresser, the Uber driver, you name it, they got a script. And not that people don't. There is a story. Everybody's got a story or stories. I don't disagree with that.
Neil Adams at a comic book. The late Neil Adams, he just passed away. Rest his soul. And he was at a comic convention I was at about 3-4 years ago. There, I didn't draw at this one. I was just there as a patron. And I actually got to sit down with him. I sat down with Neil Adams for like 30 minutes and just chit-chatted. We just talked about whatever. He looks at me. He goes, you might be one of the few people that's not come up to me and said, hey, you want to see my drawings? Hey, you want to see my comic book scripts? Hey, this, that, and the other. He was like, thank you for treating me like I was a human being.
Yeah, but that's cool. But I'll tell you what, my man right here, Sam, I hadn't met him, and I got to, what did I do wrong?
No, I'm just like giving you the point.
Yeah, okay. So I just told this recently. So they have a film thing at the Comic-Con, and I would judge the films 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago, Sam.
Yeah, it's been a while because of COVID.
Maybe 2019. So let's see. When was the last Comic-Con I did prior to this? Was it anyway? So we were, the 30th anniversary was 2/20. And it got canceled because of COVID. We had a whole Comic-Cons series of Comic-Cons and autographs, everything set up, and then the dreaded COVID shut all of us down. And I had judged a bunch of films for Comic-Con. They asked if I want to be one of the judges. And so I said, sure. Well, they're going to give the awards for those films now 2 years later when we go to Comic-Con next month. And Sam and I are talking, and I see Adam Neese there tells me, I tell him that Sam's going to be on our panel. I say, well, Sam Rocco, that's the guy that did a couple of our films, And then Sam tells me he did The Bee, and I forget what the other one was. What was the other one?
Just The Bee. I mean, the other one is Casey Jones, I think that's going to be.
Okay, so anyway, The Bee. And I told Sam, I said, I love The Bee, dude. You may win this if I have my say. I had not met him yet, but it's a
that's so weird.
Piece. And I thought, this is really clever. This is really cool. And so my brother from another mother is now part of the family, and I hope he wins.
That. Thank you.
We've already judged it. I mean, the results have been there for 2 years. They're just finally going to give the awards out on the 24th, and they want me there. So I'll be there for that, huh?
One of the crazy things about that whole story is that, like, that movie, it was my thesis film at USC, and I was trying to kind of base the look off of the first Turtle movie, and I made everyone in my cast and crew watch it, and I was like, we have to have it this weird grimy comic book New York kind of vibe. So it's nuts that you got to kind of watch that later. I didn't even know it. I think that's so cool.
You know, hey, did you see my Ninja Turtle shirt? Could you see it?
I dig it.
Yeah,
It's
we were
very
sitting
cool.
there at the beginning going, damn, that's a nice shirt.
What this is my daughter-in-law bought me this. And I'm going to go see the kids today. This is the first time she's going to see me in this shirt. She bought this for my birthday. I don't know where she got it, but the shirt's really cool. You know, it's got all this turtle stuff on it.
Yeah, I love Krang popping out.
Huh?
I love the Krang face in there.
Yeah, it's a cool shirt.
That's
it actually
cool.
fits.
I was trying to see if my boy Rocksteady's on there, but I didn't see him.
Rocksteady.
So I see Bebop on
it. You know, the guy that I would like to get. You know, we're talking about. I know Sam knows all this. We're in the middle of Sam doing a documentary, or we're working up to it, and then we're talking about doing a tour. See what you guys think, or what you think, John. My idea, because Mel Brooks has invited me to a couple of his things where they, like at UCLA, they'll show the film, one of the films, and then they all come out and talk about it, and then they do a Q&A. And I understand that who's the director that does kind of the Kevin Thomas? Kevin?
I think it's Kevin Thomas. I think it's Kevin Thomas.
It's done a bunch of films, Sam. Kevin does kind of these really.
I'm not sure what. I don't know.
Anyway,
I'm blanking.
He goes and does. When they did a national screening 2020 of our movie, 900 and something theaters. And during COVID, and I went to, they showed them in 9 theaters here in Phoenix. I was on the Fox News show that Tuesday to pump it a little bit because they were doing, Warner's and Fathom Events were doing no publicity for it. Nobody knew the damn things were in the theater, but also no one was going to the theaters. So I went to 3 screenings. The first one, 3 people showed up.
Oh, man.
The theater next door, I could hear it going, and I go in there totally empty, and they're running the movie. I don't know why. And then the next one, 5 people showed up. This is all one weekend. The third one, I brought my wife and my grandkids, and there was 5 other people, and I didn't care. It was a screening for my grandkids. It was one of the great moments in this whole cycle of Ninja Turtles to sit there and watching that movie. I'm going to start crying again. And I told the audience, I said, these kids weren't even on the radar screen. Their dad was 14 years old, and their uncle was 17. And the thrill of their life was they got to hang with MC Hammer at the premiere at Universal for the lunch and stuff, and then the movie, and just this cycle that happened over 30-something years. And I get tears, I even have them now. And I look, and here are my beloved grandkids watching this movie, and they never left the screen. My granddaughter, 6, always has to pee. She did go up and go pee, and she goes, Pop up, can they wait till I come back? And then I said, no, but just hurry back. And she comes back, and but when it was over, I have twin, they were 7 then. When it was over, my twin grandsons go, Pop, that's the bestest movie I've ever seen. They were like blown away.
Good taste,
and I will cry. It just makes me cry. These kids weren't even on the radar screen, and here they are, my loved kids, watching this movie and digging every second of it and asking if there was more when it was over. And I said there are more. So now they've got a big man cave downstairs and a big giant screen and a big kickabout couch, and they watch movies, and I'll come over and they go, Pop, come on, we're watching your movie. They love watching that movie.
That's cool.
But the point is, 30-something years later, here's these little kids that get it. You know, it's not like old school to them. It still works. The movie still works.
I think so.
I always hated, though, when I went to the rough cut at Goldwyn with Tom Gray, and we're sitting in the very back, and a little teeny square. I don't think that sat more than 50 people, if that. This is always me because I'm a little guy. Movie gets ready to start, thing goes dark, movie starts. This gigantic human sits down in front of me with his son. And I look at Tom, I said, can you believe this mook? It was John Candy. Tom goes,
that's crazy.
Candy. And I said, oh, that's okay. He can sit there.
He can sit there.
Uncle Buck can sit right down. He
brought his son to see the screening, you know. But he comes and sits. He was like a freaking elephant, dude. This guy was big, you know. Anyway, the only part of the movie, when it was over, Tom said, what'd you think? And I says, You're not going to keep that little cheesy puppet thing in about you're going to take. He said, yeah, we're going to fix that. Which then when it went in the theaters, the night it opened, my wife and I are driving all over Beverly Hills, Westwood, everywhere, jumping in the theaters. I wanted to hear the reactions, which is really a trip.
That's cool.
You know, it's a trip as an actor to see yourself on a movie screen the first time. That's a trip like no one can explain. The first time you see yourself on a movie screen, you go, holy Jesus. And I slide down on my seat that was at the Pantages for Tora Tora. And I'm up at the balcony, right where at the front row. And I slid down and my eyes are looking over the little ledge. And I'm going, my God, to see you that big. The next feeling is to go to a movie that you wrote or produced or whatever and see that reaction. And I always talk about Steve Barron to me was brilliant. And the most brilliant thing he did is here's these kids waiting so long to see the Turtles for the first time on a screen, and the way he teased it with the manhole cover and Raffi looking
crazy.
First the side, clink, 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 and then you hear it, and you can see the kids edging up to the edge of their seat, and that manhole cover's open, the light strobing off of him. I get goosebumps to this day. And he goes, damn. And he closes it. And I go, yeah. They kick the music in. I go, I just said, that is so brilliant.
It's amazing. It's so crazy. Like how it goes like through the sewer. Yeah. And you see the shadows first.
Because there was such anticipation for the kids to come and see this movie. And of course, the beginning, there's no turtles at the beginning. It's all, they're setting up the story with the crime stuff with April and everybody. And showing the kids pickpocketing and robbing people. And then they get to go to dark. And then the next shot is you hear them jiving and you see their silhouettes in the sewer. You don't even see them yet. They skate into the shot and you go, Steve is so brilliant, man. That to me was just, that whole beginning was so brilliant.
Yeah, I still one thing I pulled from it was always Donatello's little corny lines, like when he goes a cappella, and they're like, "What?" That's just
Chevy Impala, Chevy Nova. One of my favorite was "It's a Kodak moment" with the bathroom scene. I think was that Leonardo.
It was Leo and Raph in the bathtub.
Yeah, but at the door with the toothpick going, it's a Kodak moment. I just love that.
Yeah.
It was great.
I liked how in the script you all flip-flopped that, because in the original source material, that was Leonardo in the bathtub and Raph watching over him in the comic. And then you all role reversed that to put more emphasis on Raphael.
Well, I think that had to do with that's the character that's where those characters should be. Yeah. And I tell people, I don't know how much time you have, but
you're fine.
I tell people that in one of the podcasts way back, a couple of years ago, on the 30th anniversary, we did so many of them. And by the way, I appreciate you doing this, dude, because I love doing them, and I want to get the word out about Comic-Con. I want to get Sam out there with us. And
I appreciate you doing this. This has meant the world to me. Like I told Sam.
Though. It's fun. It's never boring.
This is Christmas, and I'm a 13-year-old kid again.
Anyway,
you're the Nintendo then.
The thing about the movie, someone asked me one time when on one of my interviews, they said, "What was your thought process when you were writing this script?" Well, first of all, I can't explain to you the music. I forget who it was. I've got it in my library, but I was listening to this kind of new wave, new age, no lyric music, that was just kind of trippy when I was writing it. Don't ask me why. And it just set a mood. I like to write to certain music for things. It sets a mood for me. And, and it's just when you're writing, something will come up and you go, wow, where did that come from? I mean, Sam writes, you go, dude, where did that come from?
Sure.
I was first with my wife. She hear me in the room talking to myself. She go, husband, are you okay in there? Yes, I'm just talking to some people. Don't worry about it. I got to talk, out, because I got to hear what I'm writing. And
I do the same thing when I used to write my comic scripts. I would actually pretend and I would go and say, okay, this is what they're going to say. And I would look in a mirror and have the conversation back and forth with myself like a lunatic, you know? And if my kids would have come in, they'd have been like, Dad, do we need to take you to the home now?
Yeah. Yeah. I know. But the thing that helped, everything in its time, but for writing sitcom and TV, which is good. The best thing about TV is when you write a script, you know it's going to get shot within a month. A movie could be never. I have those, right? But the thing is you learn a sense of timing for stuff. In a movie, you have more of a palette to work on, and you going, boy, I got to fill in a lot of numbers here, dude. You know, so when you go to the movie and you know what's coming, you're going, God, you're like this, going, man, I hope this works. And boom, it works. You go, yeah, it's such a high. It's so cool when it works, right? And then you'll get surprised. You get a laugh, and you go, wow, I got to admit, I didn't really expect to get that reaction in that particular thing. But that's also on the actors. I mean, these guys were great. These guys were so good. They really, these guys deserve everything. They were all great. But anyway, to get to my point, and then I'll let you go. I was asked once, what did you use kind of base these characters on when you were writing them, other than what was in the comic book? But remember now, the comic book was a whole different animal and a whole different look. If you've seen the graphic comic book, not even the same ball game.
Much darker, much grittier, way more violent.
The art. So anyway, I said, because the look was part of it too, and I said, I used the Marx Brothers and I used the Four Musketeers as my template for these guys. Because if you watch the Four Musketeer movies or the Three Musketeer movies, Michael York and them, what is it?
That's the first cover, or one of the first covers.
Yeah, I got another one. But anyway,
collection.
But the Marx, it was the Marx Brothers wisecracks. But if you watch the Musketeer movies, when they were always fighting, they were back and forth with quips with each other. And that really, and I don't know that Peter and Kevin didn't even see that somewhere, but that's where I got it. Was just, I said, these are like the Four Musketeers, these guys, you know, and they always had little side. There was several Musketeer movies, and one with Michael York, and God, I forget the other great actor's name. There was a great Musketeer movie made maybe back in the 70s or something. And that's the movie. I said, that's the Turtles. That's these guys. They're buddies and they're jousting and, you know, back to back, you know, with swords on their, you know, and they're stuck in where their heart is, you know, and they make a quip and then fight their way out of it. And the other thing I worked really, really hard on was I got into, the guy that wrote all the books on mythology, the famous guy that wrote all the mythology books. That was Lucas's godfather.
I got his book buried in my closet. It was like the hero of 1,000 faces.
Shame on me for not remembering. He was brilliant. I got his books, read his books, and that was George Lucas, and he were like tight, and he was Lucas's inspiration for what he did. And anyway, I watched Lucas's first couple of movies over and over and over. I watched the battle scenes, and out of that I pulled the thought came to me that each battle had a theme, for lack of a better way to say it. He didn't just go, okay, on the clock, we need a battle here, just for timing purposes. He wrote that script to lead up to that showdown, and there was a theme for that battle. And that's what I did with Turtles. I said, we can't just have them fight. There's got to be a reason for each fight, each showdown, you know, and not the same thing, always something different, you know. And if you look at the movie, you'll see that every fight, and Tom Gray didn't get it at first. Steve Barron got it. Steve Barron got it right, was with me all the way on that. I said, all these battles have got to have a theme. We just don't go, hey, we're 15 minutes in, we need a battle. The script's got to be designed to lead up to that, you know. And the one at the end, you know, the final one, the one at the end. Hey, thank you for that alternate ending. That was very cool.
Oh, no problem. I found that on YouTube.
I think we show that.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool. It's really kind of weird, but I'm glad it ends where it does.
It is. It's anticlimactic, but
yeah.
It's it's something it's a treasure. It's something nobody.
Yeah. These days it'd be a good post-credit scene is what they'd probably do if it was released today, you know. Like,
where they
John,
show a bunch of footage, just outtakes. Yeah.
John, the scene there's an alternate ending where April and Danny are in a comic book executive's office, and they're trying to sell her drawings and to turn it into a comic book. And the guy's like, I don't get it. And the Ninja Turtles are like hanging outside the window. Yeah. Just crazy.
It's great.
It's pretty interesting.
It really is what I went through. When I saw it, I said, "This was me pitching the movie." Nah,
I don't know if you've all been tracking this, but yesterday they just released a new Turtles game that's in the vein of the old Super Nintendo Turtles in Time.
I've been playing that for 2 days straight,
and people were just eating it up.
That's cool. Is it like the Nintendo game?
Yeah, it's like the arcade games of the 90s, like Turtles in Time and stuff. It's pretty neat. It's called Shredder's Revenge.
Somebody's got their hand on the throttle on this and has figured out, wait a minute, we got a gold mine here. And I'm to understand they've let Seth Rogen is in charge. I mean, he's in charge of the whole franchise. So I'm sure that's his team.
Speaking of which, there was a question that says, what do you guys think about the new Seth Rogen reboot?
Yeah.
I'm into it.
I called him. I got one of his lead guys when they were first putting everything together. And I said, look, I explained who I was. And I said, we'd like to put our footprint on this first project because it's a 30th anniversary and stuff. And just thought it'd be cool marketing wise that, the original this and that, or got a little hand in this project, and the guy said, yeah, let me get back to you on that. We never heard back from him. Don't be jumping on our horse, dude. But we thought it would be cool just because it was the 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, that movie that you all made should be shown in film schools, especially if you're trying to be a comic book writer and trying to do comic book movies for that matter, because just the way everything was done and how you all took liberty somewhat with the source material, but it wasn't like, you damned it, where I've seen some movies, it's like, I don't know, they just bastardized the whole source material and then the movie flops. Right. And you all didn't do that. You all paid an homage to everything Eastman and Laird had done up to that point. And that's why that movie still works and the Michael Bay one doesn't.
And I will say that Todd Langen brought his touches to it as well. That's again part of the process. I was there for one day of the shoot. I got there for one day, and my back was so bad, and I kept trying to hold off on having surgery until the shoot. I was there one day and I had to turn around and fly back to LA. I called my orthopedic guy, said, "Let's do it." I couldn't sleep except maybe standing up like a horse. I couldn't lie down. I couldn't sit. And I had what's called a laminectomy. It sounds like a car that I used to own, a 1973 laminectomy. But God bless him, man. I mean, my back goes out a couple times a year, but it's the only thing I do. Again, timing. So I wasn't really there to see what I'd love to have been witness to, but that's why Kim, having been there, we might pull Tom Gray into this somewhere. He's around. And I think if we do this documentary, for sure we'll get him. And John, I'm starting to say, John, that we're as I'm prone to do, ADD, ABB, LMB, AARP, MBA, NFL issues. We are thinking of putting a tour together where we will go to some, like there's a theater here where I live in Arizona, beautiful Playhouse Performance Arts Center, seats like 500, is perfect size. I just went to a function there and spoke to the guy that runs it. He was all flipping out when I said I want to told him who I was. And again, dude, are you kidding me? Yes, let's do this. And I want to show the film and then get some of the gang together, talk about it afterwards, and then we'll do an autograph session in the lobby afterwards. Okay. And just do it. Kevin Thomas, I think that's his name. The guy at Fathom Events, Tom Lucas, told me that he does these. He charges like $100 or something.
Oh, Kevin, are you talking about Kevin Smith?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, because Kevin Smith does that with his films. He goes around and does little tours.
It starts like $100 or something, but that includes the conversation, the movie, and then he signs autographs and bada bing, and we'll sign some.
Yeah, he does a podcast after he shows the movie and a Q&A.
Does he really? Well, see, that's what we want. That's what I want. I want us to do that. And I think we should just cherry pick some theaters around the country, the world. I mean, when I see there's Comic-Cons all over this freaking world, you guys, which you probably know, it's mind-boggling. And I'm reaching out to a bunch of them. They just had one in Phoenix. I missed it by a week because it was supposed to have been in the spring and they canceled it. Then my neighbor was going. He said, "Are you going to do the Comic-Con in Phoenix?" I said, "When is it?" He said, "It's next week." I said, "What?" I didn't know that. And I got a hold of them. They said, "It's too late, but next year we'd love to have you."
You all come over here, I guarantee you I could pack out that Blaisdell Arena, because these kids here, even people my age, still are all about the turtles. I still go into comic book stores here, and you can't find Turtles trade paperbacks on the shelves half the time.
Well, you know that Sam knows Vanilla Ice is really still into this. And he has 4 turtles on stage with him during his shows. And so, but he was the second film. I thought he did a song on the first film, but MC Hammer. And then so all these years later, where I go up in the Redwoods in the summer, this retreat, about 5 years ago, a couple of more, not that long, because it was just before the 30th anniversary. I'm up in the Redwoods and I'm at this camp, and in walks MC Hammer with his host. This club I'm in, and he's all buffed, man. When I saw him, he's a skinny kid. He is buffed up. And he walks up, we start, and he says, I knew who he was. And he walks up and he goes, I said, "Hey, MC, how you doing?" He said, "Yeah, man." He goes, yeah, man. He's giving me this look. "Yeah. How do I know you?" I said, "Well, Ninja Turtles." "Oh, damn. Yeah, man. How are you?" And so we just sat in the corner and caught up and talked about stuff. And I said, "We're going to do a 30th anniversary. We'd love to have you as part of it." So he gave me his phone number, and he lives in Oakland. He gave me his card and everything. I called him 20 times. He never would call me back. And just out of sight, out of mind, because I would love to have had him. I still want to get him in the mix if we can, because he did some shows up there where we were. He killed, and they were sitting in trees watching him.
Really?
On fences. Yeah. And I'm talking guys, old guys, middle-aged, young guys, he pulled this huge audience. And I told him later, I said, "Dude, what'd you think of the show?" I said, "I couldn't get in. I sat on the road and listened to you for a little bit." And he said, "Man, this is happening, And anyway, I'm hoping we can pull him into this a little bit.
How about James Saito? James Saito, are you all able to get him?
Well, I may get him for our show. I'm on hold. He lives in Vancouver, but he's got a pilot. I said earlier, he's got a pilot he's going to do, and if he's in Southern California at time, he'll come down. But I'll know when I get a little closer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Toshihiro Obata, he passed away, didn't he? The one that played Tatsu.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought he did.
I named him Shinji-san, named after my sister's second husband. It was a tip of the hat to Shinji-san.
Everybody says that he was the nicest person, but
no, it was Tatsu.
Yeah, Tatsu.
Everybody says that he's like the nicest, down-to-earth person, but every film you ever saw him in, he always played a bad guy, something. It was never
my agent. Going back, my agent that put me in Tora instead of MASH. One of his clients is Harry Hikata, the guy in Odd Job in the James Bond movie with the hat.
Yeah.
It's like he'd kill you. One of the nicest people you'd ever meet in your life. But when you first met him, you kind of took a few steps slowly towards him.
Sure.
Yeah. Same deal. And Sato is just a gentleman. He's a class act. So we're trying. Anyway, for the tour, when you speak of the tour, yes, we're going to obviously try to get, if it's a tour thing, it's probably going to be this guy on that particular time and that person and that person.
If you all are down for it, I might have to do a petition over here on Oahu and be like, "Hey, you all want to get a the Turtles, the 90s folks together and do a movie viewing and a Q&A?
Yeah,
Autograph signings?
we'll do it. Stay in touch with me. We'll definitely. I mean, I'm
'Cause
gonna.
I'm friends with a bunch of the people that run the cons and stuff over here. So
I mean, we're not going to do big venues, but I think we can handle 300 to 500 seat venues. I think we can fill those.
that's why I said the Blaisdell. You could easily pack the Blaisdell.
How big? How big?
Blaisdell might be able to hold 1,000.
Well, that'd be big. See, but if there's a place not far from where I live here in Cave Creek that I went for some social gathering, and it's called Amped Coffee. Well, I love the name of it, Amped Coffee.
Yeah.
And it's like the old coffee house back in the 60s place. And it's got a stage in it, a little stage tucked back. And then it probably holds 150 people. And I talked to the owner again, told him who I was and what to do. He said, dude, I would love that. I said, I just want to do it for a test drive. Just want to come, just me. I'll come and just do an evening with me, talking like we're talking, and see what we pull. And if we pull 150, then I got this theater down the road here that's absolutely incredibly beautiful. And there's a couple of theaters here in Phoenix. Phoenix is a happening town. Denver's a happening town.
Yeah, when I was in the Army,
happening town.
When I was in the Army and I was getting ready to retire, a lot of my we call them battle buddies. A lot of my battles, they were like, I'm moving out to Arizona. I'm like, well, I'm staying here in Hawaii, let my kids finish school. And I was like, what in the world's going out in Arizona? They're like, dude, house prices are off the chain out there, you know, and it's a beautiful area and blah, blah, blah. And now I've been looking at it and like, damn, Tucson.
Now you stay where you are. But I will tell you, I went to high school here. My dad was in the Air Force. I went to high school here and then ASU. I didn't think I'd ever move back here, but every time Tammy and I would come over here for a function, I'd say to her, maybe we move here. And she'd go, I'd rather take a beating. She's an Orange County girl. Our son called when I was out of town a few years ago. We were going to move up by Tahoe on the Reno side. And my son said, Mama, you and Pop don't do that. We're taking the kids. We're getting them out of California. We're moving to Scottsdale. And that's all I needed for Tam to go, well, maybe we should go take a look. Let's just go look. Doesn't mean we're going to take a look. And I'm going, yeah, baby, we're in. We left. We've been here a little over 2.5 years. We left right just before COVID hit.
Oh, gotcha.
January of 2020, sold our house in Long Beach in a weekend. I got 2 houses here for the price of one, plus money in the bank. And my 2 houses, and I'm renting the other one, is paying mortgages on both houses.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we just timing again. Right place, right move, right. Not that I'm full of these, but it does happen from time to time.
Yeah.
Like Turtles, right place.
Yeah.
Right. And my property tax, the 2 houses combined, is 1/3 of what it was for one house in Long Beach.
No, I believe it.
So, and I was bragging about our $1.89 gas price when I moved here. That's over.
Yeah, sure.
I'm paying $5.29.
Oh, I'm paying $7 up here.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, we're
paying in Hawaii.
$6.
That's crazy. Anyway, we won't go there.
Yeah,
I'd like
different.
to shove them
Different
all in the
podcast.
ocean. I want to shove them all in the ocean. Go, okay, we're in the Potomac and go, we're starting over.
Yeah, that's what I wish. It's like, hey, look, obviously this shit ain't working. So can we try something else?
Hey, I've got to go, but I thank you for doing this.
Oh, you are welcome.
Sam, for putting
Bobby,
it together.
Bobby,
thanks
this
for
has
coming,
been an absolute honor and a pleasure, sir. I mean,
hello, my brother from another mother and a broken rubber. I do appreciate it. You know, and Sam, I will see you soon.
Yes.
And
in a month.
I hope to put something together in Hawaii. We'll come over.
Yeah, I'll keep in touch
I'm looking
with you.
for any excuse to come over.
I'll get up.
I mean,
with
the
some
boys,
of these,
not just me. Bringing the boys, bringing the troops.
Yep, I'll get up with some of these con people and get back with you.
This guy right here is going to be our next star.
Yep,
That's me.
see it.
Yeah,
it's happening.
It was meant.
The wheels are
meant
turning.
To be. No,
I
it's
hope
everything.
so.
These things are meant to be, though. I mean, they happen at the right time. So
I ran into Sam on Instagram when I saw his thing for the Casey Jones, and I was like, "This is freaking." And I used another word, but this is freaking incredible. And I messaged you and I was like, dude, can I have you on the podcast? I really want to talk about this Casey Jones thing.
Thank you for that. That was
Have
awesome.
you had him on?
Yeah, I've had him on. He's actually been on my show more than anybody so far.
Okay, good. I feel like I took all the air out of this today.
Oh,
that's
cool. I was
unusual.
just here to kind of hang. Really, this is your show. I'm just here to be here. I guess.
Man,
I have been blessed to say that I can call Sam friend. You know.
Oh, stop. Well,
hey,
likewise.
let's circle back before Comic-Con.
Sure.
And Sam, and maybe get a couple of the other guys.
That would be excellent.
Yeah.
We get Kim on here.
Yeah. Kim's always great.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you all are going to have me weeping. You have me meeting all these people because I'm sorry, that movie means the world to me.
We just got lucky, I'm telling you. But that's like me when I tell you, taking the grandkids to see it, man. I had tears. I was like, wow. I looked at Tammy and went, "Can you believe this? 30-something years later, these kids weren't even a thought. Here they are."
I got to take my cousin, my youngest cousin, which I'm 46, he's 36 now, and he'll probably get mad at me for even bringing this up, but he was 4. Yeah, he was 4 years old, and it was the first movie he ever got to go see. And I begged my aunt, I was like, "Let me take him." "Oh, he's too young. He's too young." I'm like, I was sitting in the theater at 4 years old watching Empire Strikes Back. I still remember it. To this day, I still have that
we all do, yeah.
And she finally, broke and let me take him. And to see the look on that little kid's face the whole time, how much that franchise meant to him, how much it meant to me.
Cool. That's cool.
That's why it's so magical and it means so much to me. And now I'm about to get emotional because I got to share with that little boy my love, which now to this day, he has passed that on to his kids. And that's why that movie is timeless.
I wish I had the Mac that I wrote it on, the Apple computer. That was the other thing. This had just broken on the horizon, these computers. Because I was typewriter. I had a writing partner prior to that, and he's the one that bought an SE30 Mac, which is the first. It looks like a little TV. And I said, "I'm on my typewriter. I'm not going over there." I thought I'd break it. He'd call me over and "You sit next to me." And he'd go ahead, and I go, "No, man, I'm touching that thing. I don't want to break it."
I can't imagine writing on a typewriter right now.
Huh?
Wow. I can't imagine writing a whole screenplay on typewriter.
I got to tell you, though, because that's the world I came from, it's very hard to go from not hearing that sound. There's almost a rhythm. Jerry Lewis does a famous thing in a movie where to a song, he does this thing with a typewriter. Look it up. You look on YouTube for Jerry Lewis does the song bit with the typewriter. It might have been, God, what was the name of that movie? Ladies Man. Might have been in Ladies Man. But you'll find it, and it's brilliant what he did. It orchestrated, but all the typing was rhythms to the music. And so I had to get weaned off of that. And Tom Hanks actually several years ago came out with an app that when you were on your computer using your keyboard, you heard the sound of a typewriter typing. It's an app. I don't know if he's still. I bought it. I actually bought it.
That's awesome.
I don't know if it's still out there, but it was Tom Hanks' thing. Because he came from that time too, and it's amazing, the computer cut and paste. I mean, when you were on typewriters, guys, you weren't cut and pasting, and it was a pain in the ass. Having to back out, and white out. It was a pain in the ass. And then you cut and paste and went, "Dude, we're home free now. This is so cool."
Crazy.
Yeah, like when I've done sketches, I'll write a script out for some sketches for my YouTube channel. And I'll be like, "Oh, this line would be better here." And I would sit there and think, because I'm from the typewriter era. I don't know about you, Sam, but I had typing classes in high school. I had Miss Tyson. Give you a shout out, Miss Tyson. But if you wanted to move lines, you had to pull that thing out and start completely over again. I mean, it was it was rough.
Eek.
I love
technology.
Yeah, really. Changed everything, man. For the better and for the worse. That's
why everyone's got a screenplay now for you to read.
Huh?
That's why everyone's got a screenplay for you to read now.
Because it's easier.
Right. Well, I don't know if everyone's going to get out typewriter and do it.
No, I don't know the people. No, in fact, I gave my grandson the typewriter. He says, "What do I do with this?" I said, "Well, play with it."
Yeah.
I do producing for indie films, and I have, I've got and it's mainly for friends. And I'll have people that'll just send me stuff in the in my email, hey, will you read this screenplay? And I'll be like, yeah, I'll read it. And I've come across some that were pretty good, and I've come across some that was like, you don't need to quit your day job.
Most of them are bad, yeah. Most screenplays are just bad.
But bless you for giving it a shot. Next.
Yeah.
Hey, where are you from, John?
Originally from Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, right around the corner from where you all filmed the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you all filmed it in Raleigh, and I was 4 hours east of Raleigh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, at the Capra Studios.
Yep.
Frank Capra's son.
Who were dying.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep. They filmed Turtles in Raleigh, and Raleigh has no skyscrapers, nothing.
I met him at a Show West show. They used to have this thing called the Show West show. It's the CinemaCon now, but he started as a Show West. And I met Capra Jr. there at that show, and he was touting the studios that they had back there in North Carolina. So I was just in awe of meeting the son of Frank Capra.
Yeah, that's insane.
Like,
yeah, well,
I know Clint Eastwood very well, and Clint told me some time ago, because I said to him, when are you going to quit doing this, man? You made enough freaking money. And he goes, you can hardly ever hear him when he talks. He goes, well, Shorty, you know, he said, Billy Wilder stopped directing when he was 61. And I said, Billy, why'd you stop? He says, nobody wants to see my stuff anymore. No one cares what I'm making. And Clint says, but you're just learning your craft. And Clint's 91. He's shooting a movie as we sit here.
That's crazy.
Now, hopefully he's behind this. I know him really well. And Tim Moore is producer. I told Tim, I said, I hope the hell he's behind the camera. And he needs to stop getting in front of the camera. But he's behind the camera.
I mean, he's made some masterpiece films past 61, Eastwood, so I'm glad he didn't stop.
Yeah, I just had Larry Hankin. I just had Larry Hankin on my podcast about 3 weeks ago, and he made Alcatraz with Eastwood. He was the one that played Charlie Butts in Alcatraz.
Clint is one of the neatest people. It's like, and Sam saw my hour-and-a-half interview, right?
Yes.
So in that interview, again, I've got to go, but in that interview, when I was going to college, I drove at the studios. My cousin got me a job. He was in the union, $3.99. So I would go over in the summers and drive. I drove Paul Newman on the Butch Cassidy Sundance Kid movie. That was my job for the summer.
Here's my Butch Cassidy tattoo. I got to show it. If you're bringing up the movie.
Very cool. He was meant to be.
It is.
And Paul Newman was one of those people who says, I hope he's as cool as he seems. Well, he's cooler than that. And same for Clint. Clint's even cooler. And Clint likes you to screw with him, and he does. He calls me, how you doing, Shorty? And I go, whenever I'm with him, I start leaning forward slowly towards him, because his voice, I says, how do they pick your voice up? It drops right up past your lips. He says, very funny, Shorty. And so I said to him, I was leaning forward towards him one time, and he looked at me and he says, fuck you, Shorty. And I said, you're cursing the Ninja Turtle guy? Have you lost your freaking mind? Don't you know who I am? What are you, crazy? I don't care. And he loves you doing that. He loves you screwing with him. And when he laughs, he goes like this. No sound comes out of it. Totally mute. Awesome. And I said, there's no sound comes out of your body. And I call him a big saggy bag of bones. And so the last time I saw him, I said, so let me ask you, he's in this club, this thing up in the Redwoods I go to. I said, we've done shows together on stage, live shows, comedy things. Okay.
What amazes me.
But anyway, so I say to him, because he always has a zinger for me. And the last time, a couple of years ago, he said, well, Shorty's here now. I guess we can start the show. And I said, let me ask you something, you big saggy bag of bones. What's the watermark on your belt line? How much higher can you pull that belt up? Fuck you, Shorty.
The
here he is cursing me again.
That's crazy.
He's a very cool guy.
I tell you what gets me about him is no matter how old he's gotten, his acting gets better.
Yeah.
Like I watched a Mule.
Much the same note the last few movies, though. Mm. It's the look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great acting lesson is you can say it without saying it, and he can say so much just with a look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
no dialogue needed.
Yeah, when I introduced my kids to the because when I first showed it to them, the Dollars trilogy, I'll try to get this out as quick as possible because I know you got to go. But they were like, "Oh, I don't want to watch. That's old Western movies. That's garbage." My sons both went out and bought them on Blu-ray just to have them after they got done watching them. And I was like, you know what the magic of that is? I said they hardly needed any dialogue to make those movies work.
Sure. Yeah.
Everybody, and you know what? Everybody in town wants to work for him, and they'll work scale basically. They'll take a little back end if Clint wants to give him a little back end. He always finishes under budget and under time. He told me, says he usually just does one take. And
I've heard that about him.
One take. Clint said an actor will come up to him and go, gee, could we just do one more? And he goes, sure. And he looks at his DP and gives a wink, which means go ahead, but we're not really rolling film. The guy doesn't know that. But I mean, then there's times when he has to do a cover shot, or he has to do shoot again. Something happens, but very rarely. That's why he just, okay, next set. Let's go to page. What are we on? Page 16. Let's go to. I mean, I've been there, seen him in action. And then there's time when it gets tense on the set, and he clears the set. He'll get a burn going, or some actor or actress will act up, and he won't put up with that shit, and he clears the set.
Wow.
You know, his buddy Tim, is his producer, will come. I was on a set, and Tim came to me. He says, "This is a good time to leave right now." It's what's going on. He said,
"Man,
there's a little problem going on. You just clear the set."
Jeez, it'd be incredible to shadow him.
Huh?
It'd be nuts. So you go, John. I'm just saying it'd be wild to shadow Clint Eastwood.
I was going to say, when I went to basic training a long time ago in a galaxy far away, my drill sergeant Perry, he had laryngitis. And when I did not see this guy come in, but I could hear him, and I'm sitting there, and all I could think was, oh my God, I have got Clint Eastwood from Heartbreak Ridge as my freaking drill sergeant. I am dead. I am not going to live through this basic training at all.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, Clint was in. He did his time. Anyway, I'm going to go, boys. Go see my grandkids.
Cool. Have a good day then, Bobby. Thanks again for doing this.
Thanks much.
Thank you, Bobby.
Appreciate it. And aloha.
Mahalo, as we say over here, which means thank you.
I said mahalo earlier. I always have it backwards. Shaka bra. That's what I did when I did that show with George Benson, who went out in the audience. One of the people on different. Oh, so when I come out to do the show, unbeknownst to me, the entire cast and people behind the cameras showed up in Hawaii at the show as a surprise to me. Yeah,
that's awesome.
And I'm up there. Look at Gary. I look at Gary and go, "What you talking about, Gary?" Because what you talking about, Willis?
Yeah.
And I brought them up. Yeah,
that's amazing.
But I went up to one of the gals and went, "Shaka brat." All right, I'm out.
Crazy. All right, see you later, Bobby. Have a good one. See you soon.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Bobby. Take good care. Be safe.
You too.
Will do.
All right.
Do I go? I should probably go too. What?
Yeah. I was going to say thank you for making this happen, my friend. I owe you
no
big
problem.
time.
Oh, not at all. Thanks for reaching out originally and getting me on your
podcast. Before we go, are you going to have another campaign for this for the Vampire Machine coming up?
Oh, I don't know. Well, not right now. So we have we're shooting like the first 60% of the movie in August. Then we're going to see where we're at. I might have to do another one. I don't know, because we're running out of money fast. Like building this arcade machine / coffin is expensive, and I'm trying to pay everybody for their time because everyone's doing such great work. So I want to make sure no one's working for free, at least not too many people. If I get some volunteers, I'm up for that. But
a director friend of mine once told me, he says, as long as you got good catering, you're fine.
Well, the older you get, we're shooting during the week, and everyone's got jobs, so it changes a little bit when I'm asking people to take off work. But it's good. I'm in the middle of storyboarding and shot listing and stuff, and we're getting everything together, and it's going to be awesome. So,
well, guys, everybody keep an eye out for Sam's movie, The Vampire Machine. It's going to be badass. I think it's going to be one of the greatest vampire movies ever made. But I'm being biased because
this is just a short, but hopefully the feature will be. This will be the greatest short about a vampire ever made, and then the feature will be the greatest vampire movie ever made in like a year and a half. That's when we'll start that one.
Well, my friend, thank you again, and
no problem.
Thanks to everybody that joined us today, and will join us later when you watch this on YouTube.
Yeah.
This has been John. That handsome fellow over there is Mr. Sam Rocco, and we'll see you again next time on Behind the Fiends.
All right, see you, John.